Several successful Eurasia Research has organized several successful international conferences, workshops, and training programs at various reputed institutions and grand venues. Eurasia has been tirelessly working for research world and have not stopped their endeavors even during COVID era and have presented research community with online platform which was safe and convenient method to continue their passion. Our objective is we are an international community of researchers, practitioners, students, and educationists who aim to bring together worldwide researchers and professionals, encourage intellectual development, and to create opportunities for networking and collaboration. These objectives are achieved through academic networking, meetings, conferences, workshops, projects, research publications, academic awards, and scholarship. Some of our key highlights are we provide scholarships to deserving candidates to promote students and research scholars to participate in the international conference. Young Research Scholarship is provided in the form of full registration fee waiver. We have vast experience of publishing papers for more than 7 years. Our associated journals publish original papers, review papers, conceptual framework, analytical and simulation models, case studies, empirical research, technical notes, and book reviews. We cater to more than 30 plus themes in the area of teaching and education and have registered ISSN and have following renowned indexing, Google Scholar, Crosscheck Authenticate, Crossref, the Keeper's Registry, Scribed, Portico, Road, Directory of Open Access Scholarly Resources, OAI PMH Registered Data Provider, PKP Index, and we will be soon applying for Scopus too. We have a wide network of 100 plus internationally acclaimed keynotes across the globe who share their knowledge and guidance with our participants with open hands. We have a large number of committee members and advisors who support us and guide us through their expert opinions and decision making capabilities. We could not have thought that we could have their expert opinions and reaching here without them. We also encourage our participants to connect with more than 15,000 plus followers on our social media platform where they can share their research and interest, join our Facebook group, and be a part of the discussions by researchers and academicians. We also have several collaborations with universities, colleges, and institutes to better serve all interested and like minded intellectuals. With great enthusiasm and pride, we would like to request our participants to enjoy the benefits of a lifetime membership in just 60 USD. We have over 10,000 plus members from across the globe, and we would like to share some of our past experiences with you. Welcome to Eurasia Research International Live Conference.
You're welcome.
The event is about to start, and today we have the participants from these various countries of the world. We are broadcasting this conference on Facebook Live on multiple pages of Eurasia Research, and the links for the live sessions are shared in the chat box. Now, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Harsha Mishra, and I am the host of the day for this online live conference. Now, we would like to move towards with our first session of the president of the association. We have the session of Line M. Shelley, PhD, Higher Education Executive, retired adjunct professor, Boston College, Chestnut Hill, MA, USA. Now we'll move towards the video session and we'll see that what she has stolen for us.
classroom time to electronic and Zoom and so forth. Many of these faculty members had no idea about the Zoom platform or any other learning delivery modules, the way that they could be delivered. So the administration really had to step in and pivot quickly. And I think overall, and talking to my colleagues across the globe, I feel like they did a wonderful job doing that. I have to say, I don't think it was the same for the students, which is sad. Preschool all the way up through PhD, I think it was difficult. I think it was less difficult for graduate students in master's and doctoral programs because many of those were already online, so there wasn't much of a pivot. But I'm going to say pre-K through the baccalaureate was very difficult, and teachers and administrators were amazing. And I do think our students that lived through that need extra attention, and the research is bearing that out right now. And that's our jobs to try to find ways to make sure that we fill those gaps. I'm going to be very honest. I'm a people person. I'm a relationship person. I thrive on making real eye contact and making real connections with people. I much prefer an on-the-ground conference, a face-to-face conference. I did the keynote for this organization in London last April. I'm doing it again in London. I'm making that commitment to make that trip because I so deeply believe in the relationships and the bonds that have formed, as well as just during the conference, getting to know people and seeing different perspectives rather than just seeing it on a screen. Encourage them to attend a Eurasia conference in general, because I believe in the organization. I'm president of the organization right now. I would encourage them to attend. If they couldn't attend in person for financial or schedule or whatever reason, I would encourage them to attend, but I would encourage them to attend in person first, but always, and I continue to do that, encourage them to attend. Nothing but good things to say about the conference pre-COVID, and last year I did not attend an online conference, so I can't comment on that during COVID, but I can comment on pre-COVID and my experience last year in London. I truly find that the way it's organized in groups and the group work that goes on is different than just to sit and listen, which is what attracted me and why I said yes to becoming president. It's organized in a way where it encourages that collegiality and that sharing of ideas and that sharing not only of the research that you present, but in small groups to broaden that discussion. So the way the conference is organized is well done. Often I can't stay for the whole time because of my busy schedule, but I do stay for the one day that I keynote, and the participation is phenomenal. And other conferences that I've attended, as well as done keynotes, as well as done breakout sessions, they don't organize them that way. Yeah. I organize my breakout sessions and keynotes in other organizations that way, because I feel from my learning styles research that I've done and published on, it's the best way people learn.
Thank you so much for your valuable words, ma'am. Now we'll move towards our next session. Now we have the session for the eminent speaker of the day. Now we'll move for the video session for the eminent speaker. Today's eminent speaker we have Emin Al-Shasheri, the Department of Mathematics, Faculty of Science, King Abdulaziz University, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And now we'll move toward with her video presentation to see that what she has stored in for us.
Research studies two-dimensional MHD stretched flow of Maxwell-Williamson nanofluid with the impact of activation energy by using a new intelligent numerical method called Littleberg-Marquardt backpropagation method based supervised neural networks, and this recommended method has proven to be effective and accurate to solve this flow model. I started my research journey about 3 years ago, and I faced many challenges during this journey. The most important of which are the few references on this topic, also the time, because I took a lot of time in this research to collect the references and write the research. The use of artificial intelligence and its techniques in many countries has become most popular in recent times to solve many problems in various fields, especially in my country, Saudi Arabia. It used here to achieve the goals of Vision 2030. Also, nanofluid play an important role in studying heat transfer, especially in the field of solar energy and its resources. So all of these reasons were the motivation for doing this research. I would like to tell them that they must have their time arranged and set a timetable to achieve their goals during the research journey. I would like to thank you for giving me the chance to participate in this conference, because through it I was able to communicate my research to the largest number of scholars. It was very good, and I benefited a lot from it.
Research is about
Thank you so much for your valuable words, ma'am. Now we'll move towards the next session. The next eminent speaker of the day is Yara El-Kheki, Economics, German University in Cairo, New Cairo, Egypt. Now we'll move towards with her video presentation to see that what she has stored in for us.
Defining the interplay between Egypt's macroeconomic dynamics indicators to be able to know the impact on exchange rate and stock market performance, as to know the hard currency problem in Egypt that's happening. So that's why we wanted to have a credible model and estimated indicators that we could depend on when we want to forecast or estimate our stock market performance or exchange rate performance, and know the right macroeconomic indicators that has an impact on these indicators in Egypt. For sure, it starts with the data collection and having the credible data, having the enough empirical studies that explain your detailed research question. So this takes time, and also for sure time management if you have a hectic working, because I used to be an economist in an investment bank and in a state-owned bank. So having a time management, having the data and the credible resources, and writing the right question to have the right article or academic article or report, all of this, it was the challenges that I faced. My motivation was that I really wanted to have a credible, updated resource on the performance of Egypt's economy in general. Because in my field of working as an economist, I wanted to know the real indicator that I could depend on forecasting my exchange rate movement. For instance, on a 3 months average rate or a 6 months, what's gonna happen? What the real factors or the real indicators that I could depend on to know what's happening in the future. Yeah, I would tell them, don't be afraid, it's never too late. Work in milestones, always work in milestones, and don't put the whole picture so you would not be afraid. Put first, what do you like to have in a research question? Then start with the data, start with the empirical study of yours to just test what's gonna happen, and then all will follow along. The conference was dynamic, really organized from the instance of that we record our presentations in advance. All the like, if I have any question, it's I ask it through an email. I get a quick feedback, and also it's dynamic because we had like a view on different researchers because each participant has a different research and point of view. So it was really dynamic and organized as well.
Thank you so much for the wonderful session. Now, we move forward with the next session to see. Now, kindly give me a minute. Now, we forward with the conference schedule. Session 1, we have the keynote talk, and session 2, we have team activity and photo session. Session 3, we have technical talk. Rename your Zoom account with your full name in English, and this will help us to record your presence. You may ask your questions related to the presentation in the chat session while the presenters are going on. All the certificates, receipts, and proceedings will be sent to the participants within a week on their mail IDs, and the proceedings will include all the full papers and abstracts accepted for the conference. Moving ahead with the publication process, the publication process starts once the registration process is complete. The author needs to send their papers, consent forms, and review details on the email ID mentioned here. The abstracts and papers received will be first published in our conference book of proceedings online. Only the selected papers will be moved in our publication timeline. The review reports will be sent to the author once the review process is over. The final stage of publication starts after receiving the revised papers from the authors. Please note that the publication process takes around 50 to 60 days after the conference dates if all the editorial guidelines are followed within the given guidelines. Now, we'll move forward with the first keynote speaker of the day, Diana Novariani, Faculty of Economics, State University of Jakarta, Indonesia. The topic of the presentation is the problem emerging in academic-professional relationship. Diana Novariani is currently working as a lecturer, researcher from Ministry of Research, Technology and Higher Education of Indonesia and reviewer from PBR General International. She received grants from Ministry of Research, Technology and Higher Education of Indonesia in 2017-18. Also, she arranged mandatory and private social contribution activity to the Society of Indonesia in 2010 to 23. The profile web links are as mentioned. Now, we will move towards with her video presentation to see that what she has stored in for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, participants of the Teacher 2024 International Teacher Conference held by Eurasia Research in June 19, 2024. would like to present our research. Nothing by the team of researchers from State University of Jakarta and Eurasia Research. The title of our research is the emerging problem in academic professional relationship. This title has been granted from the research institution in State University of Jakarta. The phenomenon of this research are in accordance with action research that is in line with the 1945 Constitution. The draft law on the national education system is one of the bills included in the 2020-2024 National Legislative Program. This bill is directed to be a replacement law for Law Number 20 of 2003 concerning the national education system, Law Number 14 of 2005 concerning teachers and lecturers, and Law Number 12 of 2012 concerning higher education. Furthermore, in an initial stage of public involvement, as explained by the head of the SKAP of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, has invited representatives of stakeholders such as representatives of teacher professional organizations and associations, academics, community organizations, education providers, and local governments. Based on the bill, therefore, a learning curriculum from foreign educational institution is needed that can provide input to educational institutions and institutions that are in accordance with technological developments and information system to improve the quality of university graduates throughout Indonesia. Jakarta State University considers it necessary to integrate the national education system law, the teachers and lecturers law, and the higher education law into one law to implement the mandate of the 1945 Constitution concerning one education system, and so that regulations at the law level do not overlap. To respond to rapid developments, this law is drafted more flexibly, not too detailed. The National Education System Bill that is currently being planned has accommodated all constitutional court decisions regarding the three integrated laws. The principle of independent learning, which emphasizes the quality of teaching and learning and expand the space for innovation, especially in the field of the e-learning matching information system in the education system, need to be included in the National Education System Bill in the future. The principles of independent learning has been going within the Jakarta State University since the COVID-19 until now, and still been going through the matching information system in the education system afterwards. The research implication, several partner problems that can be explained after conducting a survey and focus group discussion and agreed upon by partner Eurasia Research in Indonesia area. The existence of a priority education program at the State University of Jakarta that is currently running and experiencing obstacles to advancing a learning therefore requires a program that is able to match link and bring together within this event conference and integrate big data of which have been done because the differences in cloud computing platforms. This big data currently have been stored in cloud computing platforms and need to be extract from the platforms using the compatible and more sophisticated platforms. Access for graduates of the State University of Jakarta who have difficulty penetrating the world of international employment because they are not well integrated and there is no e-learning software based on big data to manage this e-learning matching. Based on the identification of the partners' problems in this curriculum involving industrial management practices, guest lecturers activity have been going, and in this research is designed using the e-learning matching site with the combined link provided by the National Education System Participation Platform. Guest lecturer activities currently have been recruited from the industrial management practices and then have been implemented in the curriculum of the e-learning matching, but the current situation and conditions of this curriculum need to be implemented and adopted into the national education system participation platform. The outcome of the research, we have conducted the codings and then the scripts of the recent curriculum into integrated software system using the National Education System platform. This is the sample of the application that is currently have been implemented to the Ministry of Health institution, and then this application using the cloud computing platform have been registered into the Ministry of Copyrights and Patents of Indonesia, and then you can search the patents in the website, and then you can access this application through the stated website, and from there we can extract some of data that have been computed and then processed in this application to extract the information that is have been teach and implemented in the programming curriculum, and then the application been known as the iHealth patents, and then it could be included in the furthermore curriculum of programming and metadata and big data. We urge the participants of this conference events to gather visual experiences and gather new concepts of the teacher learning curriculum that we have gathered the institutions regarding into the Ministry of Higher Education from the senior and junior high school in the Ministry of Higher Education to make the mutual curriculum that is integrated from the junior and higher education into the higher education in the Ministry of Higher Education that is currently being implemented by the researchers of State University of Jakarta institution and the Eurasia Research, and we urge the participants of this conference events to join and play the key role of this curriculum, international curriculum, and implemented and formulated in the international curriculum of this research as the currently model and the results could be the mutual experiences of this curriculum in scope of Eurasia Research, and then the research institution of State University of Jakarta. I would like to thank the participants of this conference events and the institutions that have resulted these results, and furthermore the research that is gathered in this research, and hopefully it could be implemented in the scope of Eurasia Research and other international institutions, as we hope from the team of this research. Thank you for your attention. I hope we see you again in another opportunities and another events.
Many thanks for addressing all of us with your informative and enlightening speech, ma'am. Please put your questions in the chat box and it will be answered by the speaker itself. Now, we will move forward with the next presentation. For the next keynote speaker, we have today Dr. Elvin B. Ponungbian, Instabright International Guild of Researchers and Educators, Inc., Nasugbu, Batangas, the Philippines. The topic of presentation is Education and Teaching. Dr. Elvin B. Ponungbian is an educator, businessman, researcher, and an author. He is a master teacher at Bilaran National High School, Nasugbu, Batangas, wherein he serves as English teacher, research coordinator, and school paper coordinator. He is the Dean of Education at SPI College, Balayan, Batangas. He had been a professor at Dr. Francisco L. Kalingasan Memorial Colleges Foundation, Inc., wherein he handled subjects such as literary criticism, linguistics, creative writing, business psychology, humanities, and other related subjects on education, business, linguistics, and literature. He is an author of English books for junior high school, senior high school, and college students. He is a graduate of Doctor of Philosophy in Education major in Educational Management at Our Lady of Fatima University. He is a graduate of Masters of Arts in Education, major in Administration and Supervision cum laude, and a Bachelor of Secondary Education major in English with highest distinction. He also graduated postdoctorate degree on strategic management and leadership at the Philippine Christian University, Manila, last August 24, 2023. Dr. Ponung Bayan also earned Human Resource Management and Organization at the International Business Management Institute and Diploma in English Language and Literature at ALESM. In addition, he is an international research presenter on international conferences like in Burapa University International Conference held in Chonburi, Thailand. He also presented in Asia Pacific Consortium of Researchers and Educators International Conventions and Conference, and more similar conferences both in local and international arena. He has published his researches in various indexed international journals like in International Journal of Current Research. He is also the owner, the director of InstaBright publication, and the chairman and founder of InstaBright International Guild of Researchers and Educators, Inc. He is the organization of InstaBright International Research Conferences and presentation being participated by teachers from Department of Education and even by various colleges and universities. Dr. Punong Bayan is a thesis and research consultant, research panelist, statistician, and thesis grammarian of different universities in Manila, Kuwait, and Batangas. He has been a lecturer in licensure examination for teachers. Added to these things, he had been a resource speaker in various local and international seminars. Moreover, he was awarded as Noble Asian Educator and Noble Asian Educational Leader by the International Society of Teachers, Administrators, and Researchers, Thailand. He has also won various awards such as Best Writer, Innovative Teacher, and Outstanding Researchers of the Year, and even Outstanding Teacher of the Year at the International School Awards, Dubai. He was also awarded as Iconic English Teacher of the Year at the World Education Icon Awards 2021. Recently, he was chosen as the most outstanding and remarkable individual in the Educational Institution of the Year on Asia's Pinnacle Awards. He has also received the award as ACI's Most Influential Educator, Researcher, and Excellence in Leadership Award and the 6th Asia Pacific Luminaire Awards. Now, we will move toward to his video presentation to see that what the keynote speaker has in stored in for us.
Research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. Good morning, everyone. It is my honor to present to you today my research entitled Evaluation of the Implementation of the Results-Based Performance Management System or RPMS in Public Elementary and Secondary Schools in the province of Batangas. This is specifically here in the Philippines. By the way, I am Alvin B. Punangbayan. I am the chairman and founder of the InstaBright International Guild of Researchers and Educators Incorporated, based here in the Philippines and New York, United States of America. And here are some of my other affiliations. Quality education depends greatly to teachers. That is why there are different assessment tools used to measure teachers' performance. Teachers' performance assessment is a practice which an institution uses to review, assess, and rate teachers' performance and effectiveness in classroom management. The findings from these evaluations are being used by the administrators to provide feedback to teachers and guide their professional growth. The Results-Based Performance Management System, or RPMS, is the current teacher's performance assessment of the Department of Education. It was introduced way back 2015, and it was modified to PPST RPMS, or Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers Results-Based Performance Management System, in 2019. The RPMS aims to assess the personal, social, and professional improvements of teachers. However, RPMS received negative feedbacks from teachers even from its pilot implementation on 2015. The implementation of the RPMS has been an issue in the department. There were organizations or group of teachers who held rallies in the DepEd Central Office just to appeal and request to abolish the RPMS. The Alliance of Concerned Teachers, or ACT, on their press release firmly stated that RPMS is junk, burdensome, senseless, and unjust teachers' evaluation system. Sambalud in 2014 reported on his news article that the teachers groups branded RPMS as anti-worker and anti-union to rate teachers. Mateo in 2018 published that DepEd will investigate the reported cases of teacher suicides, like a teacher from Cavite who hung herself, and another suicide case of teacher from Leyte after being alleged that these have been caused by heavy workload, specifically linking to RPMS. This scenario motivates the researcher to eagerly conduct this research in the province of Batangas, specifically in the division of Batangas Province, division of Batangas City, division of Lipas City, and division of Tanawan City. This study aims to answer the following research questions. Number 1, what is the profile of the respondents in terms of age, gender, marital status, line of service, highest educational attainment, and position? What is the assessment of teachers in the implementation of RPMS relative to content, knowledge, and pedagogy, learning environment and diversity of learners, curriculum and planning, assessment and reporting, and class factor? Number 3, what is the school's performance based on the following key performance indicators: school's performance, enrollment rate, dropout rate, and promotion rate? Number 4, what are the challenges experienced by teachers in the implementation of RPMS? Number 5, is there any significant difference in the respondents' assessment of the implementation of RPMS when profile is considered? Number 6, is there any significant difference in the respondents' responses on the challenges experienced by the respondents in the implementation of RPMS when profile is considered? Number 7, is there any significant relationship between the assessment of teachers in the implementation of RPMS and the school's performance? Number 8, is there any significant relationship between the respondents' assessment of the implementation of the RPMS and the challenges experienced by the respondents in its implementation? Number 9, what structural equation model for RPMS implementation may be developed based on the findings of the study? Researcher in this study to identify the teacher's assessment of the implementation of PPSC RPMS based on the key results areas in the division of Batangas, Lipa, Tanawan, and Batangas City. It specifically employed descriptive evaluative, descriptive correlational, and descriptive comparative designs. Teachers 1 to 3 who were at least 1 year in the service and who belong to the mega schools category in the entire province of Batangas were utilized as respondents of this study. Cochrane method with 95% level of confidence and 5% margin of error was used to get the number of respondents for this study, which resulted to 384 teachers. Stratified sampling was used to select the participants of the study. There were 201 teachers from the elementary and 183 teachers from the secondary. The data gathering instrument used for this study is a survey questionnaire. The questionnaire is divided into the following parts. Part 1 consists of the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of age, gender, marital status, length of service, highest educational attainment, and position. Part 2 deals with the assessment of the teachers in the implementation of RPMS in regards with the content, knowledge, and pedagogy, learning environment, and diversity of learners, curriculum and planning, assessment and reporting, and class factor. Part 3 seeks to determine the challenges experienced by teachers in the implementation of RPMS. The following statistical tools were used in this study: frequency distribution and percentage, as well as weighted mean. Kruskal-Wallis and Mann-Whitney tests were also used in this study. The researcher also used the Spearman correlation. Structural equation model for RPMS implementation was crafted by the researcher using the partial least square. The following tables present the result of the study. And this is the structural equation model for RPMS implementation. Final thoughts. Majority of the public school teachers are 31 to 40 years old, females, married, teachers 3, 5 years below in the service, and have MA units. Teachers' qualities and qualifications are important factors in their profession. The implementation of RPMS deemed positively in terms of content, knowledge, and pedagogy, learning environment and diversity of learners, curriculum and planning, and assessment of reporting. However, respondents gave lower assessment to plus factor. The school's performance based on the key performance indicators such as student performance, enrollment rate, and promotion rate are classified as satisfactory, while dropout rate was marked as excellent. The respondents were greatly challenged on the preparation of lesson plan with integration of content knowledge within and across learning areas and consideration of the learners' individual differences. Length of service and gender are important factors to be considered in the conduct of RPMS monitoring and evaluation process. It is evident that female teachers and those with longer length of service are more attentive on content knowledge and pedagogy, curriculum and planning, and learning environment and diversity of learners. Married teachers are more challenged in RPMS compared to unmarried ones who have more time availability for the service. Key performance indicators of schools are directly affected by the result of the teacher's RPMS evaluation. Teachers with high performance can produce learners with high academic achievement. Schools with outstanding and very satisfactory rating may have higher enrollment rate, promotion rate, and of course, low dropout rate. Teachers cannot deny the fact that all components of RPMS are important, despite that they encountered issues in doing their RPMS based on the required MOVs. A structural equation model for RPMS implementation may be developed based on the findings of the study. It is expected that the respondents may find it easy to use as it is user-friendly and will not require a high level of technical skills, which make it suited not only for the young ones but even so to the older ones.
And here are the recommendations made by the researcher. The first one is that teachers must give focus on educational attainment. If possible, they have to finish their graduate studies not only for their promotion but also for improving themselves professionally. It is also suggested that seminars and related workshops for teachers must be organized in order to shower more knowledge and new trends in education to all teachers. Of course, guidance and seminar regarding publication is also a must. Student performance, enrollment rate, and promotion rate got satisfactory rates, and so programs which aim to develop such factors must be provided to ensure that said remarks may be enhanced. The Department of Education here in the Philippines shall implement more programs that will boost students' confidence to strive at school and to go to school every day so as to achieve 100% enrollment rate, promotion rate, and zero dropout rate. Coaching and mentoring shall be done regularly by the school head and the teacher. Principals or the department heads and even the master teachers must help all the teachers under their supervision to prepare lesson plan with integration of content knowledge within and across learning areas and consideration of the learner's individual differences. Frequent classroom observation can be of great help also towards the betterment of the instructional process. School heads must take into consideration the teacher's gender and length of service to what means of verifications or MOVs they are expecting to be submitted by the teachers. The policymakers, the human resource department, and other concerned personnel shall also consider these factors in crafting additional requirements for the RPMS. And to relieve stress, raters or school heads must give enough time to teachers to comply all the needed MOVs for RPMS. Longer time can be given to married teachers who have more responsibilities in the family. This simple way can help lighten their feelings and mind, thus resulting to a stress-free preparation of RVMS. Teachers must aim to achieve higher performance so as it will reflect on the school's key performance indicators or KPI. When the KRAs or the key result areas and objectives in RPMS were honestly observed, it will give a high impact on the school's key performance indicators. The school, district, division, or even regional offices shall organize and conduct in-service trainings or INSET, webinars, collegial discussions, refresher course on ICT integration, workshops on writing action research, and publications to ensure that no teacher is left behind. The structural equation model provided for RPMS may be reviewed by the concerned personnel in the Department of Education and be used in the monitoring and evaluation of the teachers' RPMS. Thank you very much for listening.
Many thanks for addressing all of us with your informative and enlightening speech. Please put your question in the chat box. and it will be answered by the speaker. Now we move forward with the next session. The next keynote speaker of the day is Hai Pyong Ko, Tunku Abdul Rahman University of Technology and Management, Johor, Malaysia. The topic of the presentation is addressing the weaknesses of traditional tutorial class in the ChatGPT era. Dr. Hai Pyong Ko is an assistant professor affiliated with Tunku Abdul Rahman University of Technology. Previously, he was a head of program affiliated with UCSI University. He is responsible for overseeing the entire operation of the programs, both academically and administratively. His impressive achievements include publications in esteemed journals such as Education and Informative Technologies, JCRQ1, Knowledge Management and E-Learning, and International Journal JCRQ2, the International Research in Open and Distributed Learning JCRQ2, and other Scopus Index journals. His research interests are education management, technology management, and operation management. The profile web link is mentioned as follows. Now, we will move forward with the video presentation of the speaker to see that what he has stored in for us.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Amsterdam International Conference on Teaching, Education and Learning. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Teaching and Education Resource Associations for inviting me to deliver this keynote speech. I will start with a brief introduction about myself. I am Dr. He, an assistant professor from TAUMT Johor Bahru branch, Malaysia. I earned my Doctor of Philosophy in Management and Bachelor of Management in Technology. Over the years, I have published several research papers and articles on the educational methodologies and innovations. Additionally, I have had the honor of being a keynote speaker at various international conferences. I hope that my insight and experiences shared today will provide you with valuable inputs and perspective. You can also view my Google Scholar profile to explore my research contributions. To date, I have published 3 articles in Web of Science Index journals and 4 articles in Scopus Index journals. I warmly invite any of you who are interested in research and publication collaborations to approach me. I'm looking forward to potential partnership and exciting new projects. Today, I'm excited to deliver a speech on addressing the weaknesses of traditional tutorial class in ChatGPT era. Straight to the point, I believe we all understand what is meant by a tutorial class. Typically, students attend lecture classes first to acquire the knowledge from the lecturers. Then they attend the tutorial classes to reinforce this knowledge by working through the tutorial questions. Based on the nature of the courses, tutorial classes can generally be divided into 2 types, which are calculation-based and theory-based. Examples of the calculation-based courses include accounting, finance, and mathematics. Theory-based courses, on the other hand, often encompass the business management and related fields. In calculation-based tutorial classes, students invest significant time and effort in completing the questions. However, when it comes to the theory-based tutorial classes, both students and lecturers often find these sections ineffective, especially in the era of AI. So, why are traditional tutorial class ineffective in the AI era? First, students feel bored with how these classes are conducted. Typically, students attend tutorial classes, work on the tutorial questions, and then discuss the answer with the lecturers. This repetitive process occurs every week for 14 weeks across approximately 5 to 6 courses in every semester. As a result, lecturers often observe that the students show little or no interest at all in completing the tutorial questions. The second reason is that the students can find answers effortlessly. What's the meaning? For instance, many answers are readily available in the lecture notes. Even when lecturers set case studies questions, students still can easily copy the questions into ChatGPT and receive answers within seconds. Therefore, due to these two reasons, we can say that traditional tutorial classes are ineffective in the AI era. Based on my own experiences, here are some suggestions to enhance the effectiveness of tutorial classes in the AI era. In class, I will still discuss the tutorial questions with students for around 15 minutes. Then after this, I will try to conduct activities that both attract the student attentions and reinforce their knowledge that they have learned in lectures. For example, the first, interactive quizzes. We can utilize tools like Quizy, Kahoot, Mentimeter to conduct interactive quizzes. And the students find these activities highly engaging and educational. The best part is that these tools are now supported by AI, allowing us to upload the lecture slides and have AI generate the questions for us. You must go and try. The second will be debate challenge. We can organize debates on the specific topics to encourage students to engage critically and articulate their thoughts. So in this activity. Number third, knowledge challenge. In this challenge, we can divide students into groups and have them to ask questions to each other. This promotes the teamwork and deeper understanding through the peer learning. Number four, memory challenge. This challenge normally can be conducted in the end of the semester. For example, you can ask students to write down everything that they have learned in class on a piece of paper. The students who write the most will win, and this activity actually helps to reinforce their memory and recall of the material. Lastly, marshmallow challenge. I believe many lecturers, many instructors know about this one. This activity involves building the tallest structures using spaghetti stick, marshmallow, and other materials. It's a very fun activity that trains students in leadership, communication skills, creativity, and teamwork. By incorporating this activity, for example, interactive quizzes, debate challenge, knowledge challenge, memory challenge, marshmallow challenge, we can make tutorial classes more engaging and effective even in the AI era. I hope that the strategies that I have shared today inspire you to rethink and revitalize your own tutorial sections. Together, we can create a more dynamic and impactful educational experience. Thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to the discussions and collaborations that will emerge from this conference. Thank you and have a nice day.
Many thanks for addressing all of us with an informative and enlightening speech. Please put your questions in the chat box and it will be answered by the speaker. Now, we'll move forward with the next session. The next session we'll have is a team activity and photo session. Let's proceed towards a team building activity. Sometimes we miss the opportunity of connection and linkage with fellow participants of the conference. This team activity is to encourage interaction among all the participants. One by one, we will share the views and solutions on the topic of discussion, and also we will be conducting a photo session during this. The topic of discussion is how to overcome your mistakes. Now, firstly, we'll have the video of the discussion.
In a 2019 study, over 400 participants were enlisted to learn a mysterious, invented language. Individuals were asked about 3 pairs of runes. For example, which of these 2 characters represents an animal? Then, after a brief break, they were asked about the same rune pairs with questions flipped. As in, which of these 2 runes represents a non-living object? But this game had a secret. The subject's answers in round 1 determined the rune's meanings in round 2. In the first round, participants either had all their answers marked as correct, no matter what, or they were forced to fail every question. This meant that at the break, every participant had the same amount of information, and in round 2, they were playing for real. But despite this even playing field, the successful participants from round 1 rose to the top of the ranks, while those cast as failures kept, well, failing. People often describe failure as a teachable moment, a necessary stumble on our way to improvement. But learning from our mistakes isn't always easy, especially when those failures are demoralizing, overwhelming, or just downright confusing. So what exactly prevents us from turning our mistakes into mastery? Perhaps the most obvious hurdle to learning from failure is how painful it can be. People generally want to think of themselves as capable and competent, and experiencing failure threatens that self-image. In a survey following a replication of the rune study, participants in the failure group indicated much lower levels of self-confidence after participating. It's tempting to dismiss this pain as a temporary setback, but some studies have found that when people feel demoralized or incompetent, their brains often stop processing new information. This suggests that if a threat to your self-esteem is large enough, it can undermine your ability to learn. However, your tolerance for failure also depends on your relationship with the task at hand. In a study from 2011, researchers surveyed a group of American students enrolled in introductory and advanced French courses. These students completed a questionnaire asking what kind of teacher they preferred, one who emphasized their strengths and successes, or one who highlighted their mistakes and corrected their weaknesses. In general, responses showed that while beginner students sought positive reinforcement, advanced students were more eager for critical feedback. Researchers have theorized a handful of explanations for these results. Having just started out, beginners are still determining if they enjoy learning French and if they want to continue studying. so they might crave praise as a way to stay motivated. On the other hand, the advanced students are already invested, so they may want to improve their skills as efficiently as possible. The process of gaining expertise also comes with its fair share of failure, so the advanced students may have built a higher tolerance for making mistakes. But whether you're an expert or a novice, it's usually much more straightforward to learn from your successes than your failures. For example, imagine getting your grade back on an exam. If you aced it, you could reasonably assume you made good choices around when, what, and how much to study, and you can replicate those decisions for the next test. But if you failed, it could be for any number of reasons. Maybe you didn't study enough. Maybe you studied the wrong information. Or maybe you did everything right and the test covered things you shouldn't have been expected to know. In cases like this, it's unclear exactly what went wrong, making it difficult to learn how to improve. Wanting to learn from our failures is completely natural, and there's a lot to gain by being resilient and cultivating a growth mindset. But fixating on your failures can make it easy to forget all your successes. And building on what you're doing right can be more effective than focusing on what you did wrong. One of the ways we can be more constructive with ourselves is by considering how we talk to ourselves. Self-talk can actually play a major role in performance. Learn the key to doing it right with this video. Or get actionable, science-based advice on how to build character at ed.ted.com/buildcharacter.
Thank you for playing the video on our behalf. So I would like to request to switch on the cameras and microphones so that we can have the interaction session and the photo session as well.
Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
Diane. Hi, Diane. How are you?
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm glad to be at the conference, yes.
Okay, that's great to hear. Hi, Jessica. How are you doing today? Can you please turn your microphone? Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
Okay, that's great to hear. I request all other participants to please switch on your cameras and microphones so that we can continue with the session. Jennifer Riaoling and Mohammed Abdul Awal Khan, please, it's a request to switch on your cameras. Okay, in the meantime, Dean, can you please tell me that what is your point of view regarding the interaction, regarding the topic of discussion today? Can you please tell me about your point of view? That what do you think about the power of mistakes and the power of improvement?
One of the things I heard when working with industry in particular was that you wanted to be agile with respect to your mistakes. So making a mistake was not that diabolical, but it was good to be very agile after you'd made your mistake to learn from it and then to move on and make a change. And I always thought that was very useful advice.
Okay, that's great. And Jessica, can I know your point of view regarding the topic of discussion today?
Okay, for me, learning from the mistake is not is important and not to avoiding it. So it is important that we learn from our mistake. We must examine to know the root cause of the issue and the factors that contributed to its occurrence. By undertaking this analysis, we can make informed decisions that will enable us to navigate future mistakes more effectively.
That's so good to hear from you as well. I request again from all the participants to please switch on your cameras and microphones so that we can positively interact in the session. If you can hear me, if I'm audible to you, please kindly switch on your cameras and microphones. Uh, Jennifer, are you here? Okay, no issues. If all the other participants are not here, then okay, then we'll move forward with the next session, if that's the case. And in my point of view, I would like to present my point of view as well regarding the topic of discussion. And according to me, making a mistake is not the same thing as failing. A failure is a result of a wrong action, whereas a mistake is usually the wrong action. So when you make a mistake, you can learn from it and fix it, whereas you can only learn from a failure. I hope you can agree with the point what I'm saying.
Very sage advice. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the words. Okay. Then you can switch off your cameras and microphones. Then we can move forward with the conference as per your convenience. Thank you so much. Now we'll move forward with the first presentation of the day. The first presenter for us we have today Kui Ju Desai, General Education Center, National University of Kaohsiung, Kaohsiung City, Taiwan. The topic of the presentation is exploring the impact of Pachakucha presentations in the EFL classroom. Now, I would like to request the viewers of this presentation to read the abstract from the screen in front of you. Okay, so now we'll move forward with the video presentation of the presenter to see that what the presenter has stored in for us. Kindly give me a minute and then I'll start with the presentation. Sorry for this interruption. I would like to let you know that the video presentation is not available at this moment, so I would like to continue the conference. The next presenter we have Mohammad Abdul Awal Khan, Department of Law and Director, Institutional Quality Assurance Cell, Bangladesh. The topic of the presentation is Challenges in Implementing Outcome-Based Education in Higher Education Settings in Bangladesh. I will request the viewers of this presentation to kindly go through the abstract.
Hello, am I
Hello.
audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Actually, at the moment I am traveling, so
Okay.
can you make my presentation a bit later? That means at the end of this session, then I'll be able to make, because at the moment I am in my car, so it's not
Okay.
convenient for me. Is it possible?
Yeah, okay, we'll do this for your behalf. Now we'll move forward with the presentation if that's the case.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We are heading towards the next presentation of the day. The next presenter we have for today is Dr. Nazrana Mathur, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, the IIES Varsity College, Standerton, South Africa. The topic of the discussion is toward developing primary school learners' reading skills and analysis of top-down, bottom-up, and interactive approaches. I would like to request the viewers of this presentation to kindly go through the extract of the presenter. Okay, so now we move forward with the video presentation of the presenter to see that what she has stored in for us.
Thank you for attending the presentation titled Toward Developing Primary School Learners' Reading Skills, an analysis of top-down, bottom-up, and interactive approaches. I am Dr. Nazrana Mathur from the IIES Varsity College Online Center, which is located in South Africa. To begin the presentation, I will do an introduction, which will be an overview of reading in middle school, followed by the research methodology, which is desktop study. I will then provide a review of literature, and finally provide the key findings, discussions, and conclusions. Literacy education internationally is still in crisis. Only a third of 10-year-olds globally are estimated to be able to read and understand a simple story. Out of 45 countries who participated in the International Pearls testing between 2016 and 2021, the data reveals that 28 countries, or 62%, show that in 2021, more children were below minimum reading proficiency than in 2016, with the most noted differences visible in Azerbaijan, Latvia, Kazakhstan, and South Africa. In South Africa, children are performing poorly against their African counterparts in international tests and in tests conducted within the country. Thus, an obvious choice for research in attempting to discover causes for this dismal situation is to find out what is happening in terms of learning and teaching every day in the classrooms of our schools. A practical entry point for this is the teaching practices of our teachers, particularly those directly related to reading development of our school children. An argument put forward by Grave is that there is no single notion of reading. Grabe rejects simple statements that attempt to define reading, because if one considers the different purposes for reading and the varying processes that are used by fluent readers, no single statement would be able to encapsulate the intricacy of reading. It is for this reason that the development of reading skills is complex. In this paper, literature about the progress from emphasis on bottom-up models of developing reading skills to emphasis on top-down and finally interactive models is investigated. This desk study sought to gain insight into approaches that can be used to effectively develop middle school learners' reading skills. Desk research or secondary research is a research method that involves using already existing data by conducting research through web searches, online platforms, industry reports, or even physical books. In this study, rigorous research has been conducted using online platforms such as SavvyNet and EBSCOhost to source credible, relevant, and current research related to the phenomenon that is being investigated. The study further provided an example of how the interactive approach to reading has been applied in a particular context. The research questions for this study were: what do the different approaches for developing learners' reading skills entail? How effective are these approaches in middle school classrooms? From the age of 10 to 11, learners are required to read increasingly complex and specialized texts in different school subjects. This means that they must master more specialized reading embedded in disciplinary uses of literacy. In South Africa, learners' reading literacy has been the topic of growing concern, as international reading surveys such as the PEARLS for several years, including 2021, showed a general decline in reading comprehension. It is imperative that we have a holistic understanding of different approaches to developing learners' reading skills and investigating how they work in different contexts. Early work in second language reading assumed a bottom-up view of reading. The bottom-up approach stipulated that the meaning of any text must be decoded by the reader and that learners are reading when they can sound out the words. Verbeek states that the term bottom-up is used because such models work from the smallest unit of print, the letters, and build up to words, sentences, paragraphs, and whole texts. The example on the slide demonstrates the first basal reading programs, and these were a set of readers which were designed according to supposed learners' interests and developmental capabilities. These readers had short sentences and controlled vocabulary by letter sound correlation and frequency of use. Second are bottom-up approaches influenced by linguistic issues, which focus on teaching regularly spelled words and word groups. Another example of bottom-up models is the look-say method. Here, words are memorized based on their overall shape briefly, a vocabulary of 50 to 100 words, and other words are gradually acquired through seeing them repeatedly in a story. Now, bottom-up theories of reading were recognized as inadequate and fell out of favor when it was realized that they did not consider that the reader brings their own experiences and predictions about text. Also, although the bottom-up approach provides a good account for decoding, there is more to reading than decoding. Whilst decoding is a necessary skill for reading, it is not sufficient. Learners who can decode might only be barking at print, which means they are able to read with fluency and correct pronunciation, but have no idea what they are reading. In other words, they are learning to read aloud, but they are unable to read to learn. The trend that followed the bottom-up decoding approach was the top-down approach, which regarded meaning as the center of the reading process. Top-down methods of reading focus on what the reader brings to the text and proceed from whole to part, thus do not see reading as involving the processing of each letter and word. The assumption that decoding precedes comprehension is considered inaccurate. Rather, reading is viewed as a cyclical process as opposed to being a linear process and involves the use of visual, perceptual, syntactic, and semantic processes, which all play a fundamental role in comprehension. Grabe explains that according to this model, a reader generates expectations about the upcoming text, samples minimally from the text as needed, confirms expectancies, and generates new predictions. Initially, this model gained popularity and was widely accepted, but was later criticized because good readers do not necessarily guess what words will appear next. It does not adequately represent the process of fluent reading and does not account for how readers attach meaning to a text. Bottom-up and top-down approaches to teaching reading were found to be deficient for many reasons, but each had significant value in explaining views on how reading takes place. The interactive or balanced model of reading gained popularity as it considers the strengths from both the bottom-up and top-down model and avoids the deficiencies of each. An interactive model is an amalgamation of both bottom-up and top-down processes and recognizes that both should interact concurrently throughout the reading process. Perfetti, Landy, and Oakhill's model of reading aims to understand how people acquire the skill of comprehending what they read. According to these authors, comprehension occurs as the reader builds a mental representation of a text message. This situation model is a representation about what the text is about. The comprehension processes that bring about this representation occur at multiple levels across units of language, word level, sentence level, and text level. Across these levels, processes of word identification, parsing, referential mapping, and a variety of inference processes all contribute, interacting with the reader's conceptual knowledge to produce a mental model of the text. The following suggestions of classroom implications and applications of the interactive approach are made. Firstly, learners can be assisted to develop their bottom-up skills by developing their vocabulary and grammatical skills. This means that the teacher must include instruction on cohesive devices of the language and their function across sentences and paragraphs, as well as pre-teaching vocabulary and background knowledge concurrently. Secondly, their top-down processing skills can be developed by building background knowledge, which will help the learners to predict which prior existing knowledge to access. Activating background knowledge using text mapping strategies and developing predictive skills gives the reader a purpose for reading. The Curriculum and Assessment Policy document is used in South African schools to inform teaching, learning, and content. According to the CAPS document for middle school learners, the reading process is promoted when developing learners' reading skills. However, learners will not be able to master the skills mentioned in this reading process if they are unable to decode the text with fluency and accuracy. Pronunciation is important because the way a person speaks conveys something about them. Learners with good pronunciation are more likely to be confident and understood, even though they make mistakes in other areas. On the other hand, learners who have perfect grammar but who have difficulty with pronunciation may not be understood because their pronunciation may distort the meaning of the message they are trying to convey, and they may be judged as incompetent or lacking in knowledge. In addition to focusing on learners' comprehension skills, when developing learners' reading skills, emphasis should also be placed on vocabulary development and language structures and conventions. Vocabulary and language activities must be selected from and placed within the context of the text that the learners have read. A list of grammatical structures and conventions, as well as vocabulary development that learners are required to identify, understand, and use are provided in the CAPS document. In this presentation, an exploration of the bottom-up, top-down, and interactive approaches to reading, as well as a brief discussion of the CAPS have been provided. Key points worth recapping, which are particularly relevant to the South African situation, include the following. Firstly, reading consists of both decoding and comprehension processes, which are vital for learners to make meaning of a text. Secondly, comprehension is the most important part of reading. Thirdly, comprehending a text involves being able to summarize key points, make inferences, critical thinking, and making links between prior knowledge and the text. Lastly, if teachers do not understand and place value on the complexities involved in teaching reading for meaning, and were not adequately trained at college or in subsequent workshops to teach reading for meaning, reading instruction in the classroom will be superficial, which may affect learner readiness for the higher grades. The following slides show the sources that were consulted to compile this presentation. I thank you for viewing my presentation.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Please put your question in the chat box and it will be answered by the speaker. Now, we'll move forward with the next presenter of the day. The next presenter we have is Jessica Vikasna, Department of Education, the University of Sydney, Australia. The topic of the presentation is the impact of ESG activity on firm valuation, examining the moderating role of COVID-19. Now, I would like to request the viewers of this presentation to kindly go through the extract of the presenter. Okay, so now we move forward with the video presentation to see that what the speaker has in store in for us.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jessica Wicaksana from Petra Christian University, Indonesia. Today, I am delighted to present my paper on the impact of ESG activity on firm valuation, examining the moderating role of COVID-19. Let's dive into the core of my study, and I encourage your questions and contributions along the way. To begin, I will elaborate on our research topic. First, I will provide an explanation for the concept of firm value. Firm value is the strength of a company that describes the company's condition to outside parties. In the modern era, the way to assess a company is not only based on assessment from the investor perspective, but also from the perspective of all stakeholders. With the existence of stakeholders, firm value is influenced from many aspects. One important aspect that influences firm value is ESG activity. With the increasing performance or activity of ESG, companies will be able to increase their financial returns. Increased financial returns will make investors feel more profitable, which will increase investor confidence in the company. With increasing investor confidence, firm value will also increase. Our research purposes are expected to be useful for companies in emerging countries, especially in Indonesia, to consider ESG activities within their companies. This also aims to ensure the feasibility and potential of ESG activity to contribute additional values to the company in the future. Apart from that, this research can also be useful for investors in providing an assessment of the company before investing. Our research is based on three primary issues. Number one, from the many studies that have been conducted, it has been proven that there is still no agreement. Many researchers state that there is a positive correlation between ESG scores and financial performance or directly to firm value. However, many researchers also conclude that the correlation between ESG scores and firm value is negative. There may be other factors that cause the correlation between ESG scores and firm value to be inconsistent. Number two, COVID-19 pandemic has had a broad impact on human life, especially in economic aspect. Therefore, the condition of COVID-19 pandemic can influence either directly or indirectly the relationship between ESG activities and firm value that has previously existed. One of the impact experienced by the company was the hindrance of several company activities. This is due to the implementation of social restriction rules during COVID-19. Impacting this, various activities can be detrimental to company stakeholders, and this will cause dissatisfaction from stakeholders. Stakeholders' dissatisfaction will affect the ESG score obtained by the company. The ESG score obtained will influence the firm's assessment. Number three, most of the previous research was conducted in developed countries. Research findings in developed and emerging countries are likely to differ. This can be caused by the many differences between developed and emerging countries. Occur are differences in resources, facilities, education, and etc. Similar research needs to be carried out using data from emerging countries, so that the research result can be more specific and useful. Based on researchers' consideration regarding the lack of previous research discussing the role of COVID-19 in the correlation between ESG activities and firm value. Therefore, the researchers formulated the research question as follows. What is the influence of COVID-19 that moderates the correlation between ESG activities and firm value? In the subsequent section, I will elaborate on the research methodology employed in this study. This research uses data from all companies that have been listed on the LQ45 index for the 2018 to 2022 period as the population. The criteria used in this research are companies that have complete financial reports and ESG score for the period 2018 to 2022. Based on this criteria, 40 companies were obtained during the 2018 to 2022 period. The data used for this research was obtained through financial reports on Bloomberg. The data that has been collected and selected then processed using Gradle software. This hypothesis on this research will be tested using the multiple linear regression method with this following equation. Subsequently, the examiners conducted statistical analysis on a sample of 40 companies over a 5-year period, resulting in a dataset comprising 200 data points. The average firm value of the company studied was 1.65% of total asset, the minimum firm value of 0.11% of total asset, and the maximum firm value of 6.45% of total asset. Given the presence of a dummy variable, it is necessary to conduct two separate descriptive statistical analyses. The first analysis will focus on the period before the COVID-19 pandemic, while the second analysis will examine the period during the pandemic. The average firm value before COVID was 1.84% of total asset, and during COVID it was 1.52% of total asset. This shows that the average value of companies studied was higher before COVID occurred compared to the company value when COVID occurred. However, the minimum firm value before COVID was 0.11% of total asset, and during COVID it was 0.36% of total asset. This shows that firm value during COVID will decrease, but will reach a higher minimum than before COVID. Subsequently, the research team conducted an estimation model test using Gradle software. Growth tests show a number less than 0.05, which means the estimated model used is a fixed effect. The Bruce-Pagan test shows a number less than 0.05, which means the estimation model used is a random effect. The Hausman test shows a number greater than 0.05, which means the estimated model used is a random effect. From the test, we can conclude that the research data was suitable for analysis using random effect. Following the random effect test, here is our result. The table demonstrates that ESG has a negative impact. COVID-19 has a negative impact, while the interaction between ESG and firm value during COVID-19 pandemic is positive. The findings of this research indicate several key observations. Number 1, a company ESG activities hold a relationship with its valuation, in which the higher its ESG activities, the lower its value. Number 2, the company's valuation experienced a decrease during the COVID-19 pandemic compared to pre-pandemic. Number 3, the impact of COVID-19 as the moderating factor on the relationship between ESG activities and company's valuation, with the impact of ESG activity on firm valuation being higher when there is no COVID-19 than when there is COVID-19. The comprehensive conclusion of this paper is visually represented in the graphic provided below. The x-axis represented the ESG variable,
while y-axis represented the firm value variable. Two different lines show two contrasting scenarios. The green line shows the situation before COVID, while the orange line shows the situation during the COVID pandemic. Both lines show a negative correlation between ESG and firm value. However, the decline in this correlation was lower during COVID-19 compared to before the COVID-19. The correlation between ESG activities and firm value is negative because the ESG activities carried out will require a lot of funds. The diversion of funds will be considered detrimental to stakeholders and have a negative impact on financial performance. Poor financial performance will decrease firm value. However, with the COVID-19 pandemic as a moderating factor, this correlation has changed. During the pandemic, there's a greater emphasis on sustainability in decision-making. Companies perceived as caring for the environment tend to be favored by stakeholders and show resilience in tough times. As a result, ESG activities have gained more significance during the pandemic compared to pre-pandemic times. In summary, the adverse impact of ESG activity on firm value was less pronounced during COVID-19 than before the pandemic. Here is a presentation on our research. We sincerely hope that this research will be beneficial to all of us. Your participation and insights have been incredibly valuable. We express our deepest gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Please put your question in the chat box and it will be answered by the speaker. Now we'll move forward with the next presentation of the day. The next presenter of the day is Jennifer Budiman, School of Business Management, Petra Christian University, Surabaya, Indonesia. The topic of the presentation is the effect of good corporate governance on firm value with environmental cost as moderation variable. Now, I would like to request the viewer of the presentation to kindly go through with the abstract of the presenter. Okay, so now I would request all the presenters that due to some technical glitch, we do not have the video presentation of the presenter. So with this, we'll move forward with the next presenter of the day. The next presenter of the day is Barbara Cicirelli, part-time Academy of Faculty of Business and Economics, Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences, Amsterdam, the Netherlands. The topic of the presentation is Business English and AI, Maximizing the Learning Potential. I would like to request the viewers of the presentation to kindly go through the abstract of the presenter. And okay, now due to some technical glitch, we have not received the video of the presenter. So with this, we'll move forward with the next presentation. The next presentation of the day is sucralfate. Department of Statistics, Faculty of Science, Eski Şehir Technical University, Eski Şehir, Turkey. The topic of the presentation is estimation of the energy consumption of built-in ovens using linear regression analysis. I would request the presenters to kindly go through the abstract of the presenter. Okay, and so we didn't receive the video of this presentation as well. So I would like to move forward with the conference. Now, the next presenter of the day we have is Emily Seaman, Faculty of Engineering and Department of Statistics, Eskişehir Technical University, Eskişehir, Turkey. The topic of the presentation is Energy Efficiency Label Classification Problem for Built-in Ovens Logistic Regression Approach. I would like to request the viewers of the presentation to kindly go through the extracts of the presentation. Hmm. Now, I would like to move forward with the conference as we haven't received the video presentation for this presentation as well. So the next presenter we have for the day is D.N. Donovan, ARC Center of Excellence, Plant Success in Nature and Agriculture, School of Mathematics and School of Mathematics and Physics, University of Queensland, Brisbane, 4072, Australia. The topic of the presentation is applying hypergraphs to studies in quantitative biology. I would like to request the viewer of the presentation to kindly go through the abstract of the presenter. Now, we would like to move forward to the video presentation of the presenter to see that what she has stolen for us.
I'd like to thank the organisers for putting together this conference and also for giving me the opportunity to talk. Today I'm going to talk to you about applying hypergraphs to the modelling or study of biological systems. I'd like to introduce my co-workers. They are Samuel Barton, the University of Queensland, Adele Costa, who is at the UNSW, and James Lefebvre, who's also at the University of Queensland. I'm going to begin by first of all introducing one of the data sets we were looking at. So, Senecio is a plant that grows in various locations around Australia. In particular, it grows on headlands down the eastern seaboard and also in the sand dunes close to the sea. But this plant exhibits very different growth patterns depending on the location where it is sited. And the data set is the result of an experiment used to try and find a link between the genotype and the phenotype of the Senecio plants. So, seedlings were gathered from both of these types of location. There was a control group for each of the gravitopic and agravitropic species, and a treatment was applied to each of these groups. The treatment was to turn the plants on their side and see if the growth pattern returned to normal. Then measurements of gene expression using RNA-seq were taken at 5 distinct time steps and the results recorded. Now normally you would study this in using maybe a graph or a network where the vertices or nodes were the genes and there was an edge connecting every pair of genes, with the edge weighted by the correlation between the expression levels for each of the genes. But in this particular experiment, we were working with gene sequences, and there were over 200,000 of these gene sequences. So the resulting graph is very dense. You can use techniques like clustering and other things to try and distill information from the graph, but we were looking at taking an alternate approach. So essentially, we were trying to identify significant perturbation in the expression levels for around 269,000 gene sequences. We were only interested in those that were significant, and so we identified those genes for which there was a twofold change in expression levels for, say, from one time period to the next. And in addition, to try and take out noise within the data, we only included those results where the expression or the difference in the expression level satisfied a p-value of less than or equal to 0.5. So this distilled down our graph significantly, but again, we've still got over 200,000 vertices in the graph, and it's quite dense. As an alternate approach, we're looking to capture not only the pairwise interactions between the genes, but the multi-way interactions. And in particular, when there was significant changes across multi-way comparisons. So on the left here, you have a standard graph representation where the vertices are the genes and the edges represent some sort of comparison between two genes. A hypergraph takes an alternate approach. So here the vertices or the nodes are aligned with conditions. So it might be, is there a twofold change from time period 2 to time period 3? That's a condition and that's a vertice. And the edges now do not just link two vertices, but they collect together a number of vertices which in this which satisfy these conditions. So a hyperedge is an edge containing a number of vertices. The hyperedge is a gene, and each gene corresponds to a hyperedge, and we include a vertex if that gene shows significant perturbation with respect to that condition. And in this way, we capture extra information about what changes or what perturbations are relevant to each individual gene. Taking this information, we can translate it into mathematical structures and then study them. But again, what we have is still a dense graph, because now the number of hyperedges is over 200,000. But by using mathematical techniques, we can collapse down this information and represent it more succinctly. And that's what the representation on the right is supposed to indicate. So here's an example from the data we had. And you can see that in the middle, we have actually a representation of a hypergraph. Here the purple dots are genes, and you can see that the information here identifies a set of 8 genes. 2 genes that behave very similarly to almost all other genes, and another 6 genes which just have similar perturbation patterns as each other. So the hypergraph can identify individual genes or sets of genes that behave differently. Still, we would like to know more of what's happening in this dense matter, and so we can distill the information down even further, and that's what the representations on the left and the right are telling us. Now, given all of this, we can use standard graph theory techniques, such as the study of centrality measures, which identify central vertices or nodes, which are genes here, which behave in a particular way, or are central when compared to the behaviour of the other genes. And that's what's going on here. And we can see that these centrality measures, in fact, partition up our gene set into 4 distinct parts. And it actually, whilst it still looks somewhat dense, it does identify individual sets of genes, small numbers of genes, which behave differently and distinctly from the rest. Using this information, we can go back to the biological data, identify the gene sequence which corresponded to that node or gene, map it against known annotations, and map it against their functions. So we could then distill the information we have and show that this technique was identifying genes which were central to some sort of transportation within these plants. Before I finish, I want to briefly tell you about a second study we were looking at, and this was, we had a library, a reference library for plant microfossils across 7 distinct species, and we were taking ungraded starch grains, for which there was a total of 944, and using the reference library to allocate or classify these starch grains to their species. This gave us a hypergraph classifier which used length, area, perimeter, circularity, island position, and 11 mathematical coefficients to help us identify the species for a given starch grain. Once we finished, we calibrated this classifier against a standard random forest classifier, and in the graph on the left we can see that the hypergraph classifier performed at times better than the random forest classifier, justifying that this is a reasonable approach to take to classify distinct species or classes. We also looked at the sensitivity to each of the parameters. So just wrapping up, hypergraphs are flexible models applicable to diverse biological settings. Hypergraph models can allow us to study multi-way interactions. This allows us to reduce biases and overfitting, and also to incorporate what's called a population of models which improved results. Further work in this area would be to understand the parameter setting within the models, and also the feature selection through probability distribution. So thank you for listening today, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you for the presentation, and please put your questions in the chat box. It will be answered by the speaker. Now, we'll move forward with the next presenter of the day. Kindly give me a minute, and then we'll move forward with the conference. The next presenter of the day we have Jennifer Budiman, School of Business and Management, Petra Christian University, Surabaya, Indonesia. The topic of the presentation is the effect of good corporate governance on firm value with environmental cost as moderation variable. Now, I would like to request the viewers of the presentation to kindly go through the abstract of the presenter. Now, we would move to the video presentation of the presenter. Kindly give me a moment.
Hello everyone, I'm Jennifer Budiman from Petra Christian University Surabaya, Indonesia. Today I will present a research journal entitled The Effect of Good Corporate Governance on Firm Value with Environmental Cost as Moderation Variable. This presentation will be categorized into 6 discussion points. The main purpose of establishing a company is to obtain maximum profit for owner or investors through company value. A high firm value can be profitable for investors, so that this benefit can attract investors to invest their capital in the company. Firm value can be influenced by good corporate governance, because the result of the study state that the implementation of maximum corporate governance indicates that the company has good performance and will be an added value for potential investors, so that it has a positive impact on firm value growth. However, the research is inconsistent because there are contradictions. It can be caused by other factors, one of which is the issue of environmental awareness. Good corporate governance is closely related to environmental disclosure. Environmental awareness is a part of corporate governance and is a way of corporate responsibility that is disclosed through information about the environmental activities. Companies that pay more attention to the environment can improve investors' perceptions or view of the company so that firm value will increase in the line with the good environmental management activities. However, good corporate governance is still one of the weaknesses for the most companies in Indonesia. For example, the crisis that occurred in the late 90s and the current case of mining company in Indonesia. In addition, the weakness of corporate governance is shown by the ASEAN Corporate Governance Scorecard assessment released by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Over the years, the Otoritas Jasa Keuangan or OJK, which is Indonesia domestic ranking body, has conducted the ASEAN Corporate Governance Scorecard assessments of the 100 issuers with the largest market capitalization in each ASEAN country. Through this research, it was found that in 2018, Indonesia increased by 0.3% from 70.59 in 2017 to 70.8 in 2019. However, this growth did not experience a significant increase unlike other countries. The concept of agency theory states that action taken by management or agent in a transaction affect the assessment of investor or principal, but the principal cannot monitor this action. The condition of the company is only known by management, so that investor must have a strong trust relationship with management. This theory is also related to good corporate governance, which is a set of rules regarding the company's responsibility to investors. Effective implementation of good corporate governance will help minimize conflict of interest, increase investor confidence, and improve company performance, which can affect company valuation. Environmental disclosure is one of the corporate governance and effort made by management to increase investor confidence, so that investors are interested in investing to the company. Next, we will discuss the variables and hypotheses. A high good corporate governance score indicates that the implementation of corporate governance in the company is carried out better. Companies with good corporate governance show a good management system so that it can improve investor assessment. This is because investors believe that there is equal treatment for the other investors, so that investors do not hesitate to invest their capital to get a fair return. Therefore, a high good corporate governance score indicates that the company has implemented corporate governance well and can increase firm value. So the hypothesis is formulated: good corporate governance has a positive effect on firm value. For the second hypothesis, investor decision-making on investing in the company is seen through various aspects, one of which is the company concern for the environment. The disclosure is through the cost incurred to overcome environmental damage. If companies want to increase their firm value, then management must pay attention to social and environmental issues. This is supported by research conducted by Putri, that the increase in firm value occurs along with the amount of environmental cost and expenditure and disclosure in the annual report. Therefore, the increase in firm value due to the influence of good corporate governance with high environmental cost is stronger than companies that incur low environmental costs, so that the second hypothesis can be conclude environmental costs strengthen the relationship between good corporate governance and firm value. This study used a quantitative approach by collecting panel data and recording information in accordance with the variable to be studied through the company's annual report from the official website of the Indonesia Stock Exchange. The population of this study are companies listed on the Indonesia Stock Exchange and the LQ45 index for the period 2018 to 2022. 56 companies were obtained as a sample of this study using purposive sampling, which has three criteria. The model used in this study is moderated regression analysis in the regression equation, so that the regression equation formula is found as shown on your screen. This is the descriptive statistic of this research. For the firm value variable, which has been measured using Topinski formula, the average is 2.1, and it means that there is 2.1% of the company's market value of all assets, and the company has good growth prospects. Good corporate governance, calculated based on the corporate governance index, gets an average of 73.9, and it means that the company is considered to reliable in carrying out the company operational activities. Environmental costs with the symbol BL, which are calculated through corporate social responsibility activities, get an average of 0.09, and it means that the company spend 9% of CSR costs from their net income. Based on the result of hypothesis testing as shown in the table, it is found that the good corporate governance has significant negative effect on firm value. It means when the company implements corporate governance better, the firm value decreases, so that this result reject the first hypothesis. The negative effect is related to the COVID-19 from 2020 to 2021. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a considerable impact on the world, especially Indonesia, such as a limitation of people to work, the worsening economic condition of the country, and the drop in stock price, which has made investors sell shares on a large scale, thus affecting stock price in Indonesia. The impact of these problems make the firm value drop. The company has tried to improve corporate governance in the hope that firm value will increase. But in reality, the COVID-19 pandemic is an external factor that inhibits the firm value growth. Based on the result of hypothesis testing as shown in the table, it can be seen that the interaction between environmental cost and the good corporate governance has no effect on firm value, so that this result rejects the second hypothesis. Environmental cost is a factor that is often not responded by investors in making investment decisions. This can be because investors have different strategies in making investment decisions. Investor characteristics often avoid investment with a high level of risk. This causes investors who prefer medium-term investment that have lower risk and get high returns. Meanwhile, environmental costs are more focused on long-term benefits, so they are not in accordance with their medium-term strategy. Based on the result and analysis of research, it can be concluded that the good corporate governance has a negative effect on firm value. This is due to the influence of COVID-19 as external factor that inhibits firm value growth. In addition, environmental costs do not moderate the influence between good corporate governance and firm value. This is due to difference in investment decision-making strategies. Investors tend to make a medium-term investment, while spending on environmental costs is focused on long-term benefits. Suggestion that can be given through the discussion above, that is, companies can implement corporate governance in accordance with existing regulations, so that is expected to increase firm value. Investors can consider corporate governance as one of the factors in making investment decisions. For future researchers, they can continue this research in the future after the COVID-19 pandemic, which is an inhibiting factor of this study in order to get more accurate research results. In addition, researchers can examine other moderating variables that can affect the relationship between good corporate governance and firm value. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Please put your question in the chat box and it will be answered by the speaker. Now we'll move forward with the conference. Now, the next presenter of the day is Xiaoling Liu, Institute of Biomedical Sciences, National Sun Yat-sen University, Kaohsiung, Taiwan, Republic of China. The topic of the discussion is deciphering the genetic links between psychological stress, autophagy, and dermatological health, insights from bioinformatics, single-cell analysis, and machine learning in psoriasis and anxiety disorders. Now, I would like to request the presenters of the conference to kindly go through the abstract of the presenter.
Good day, everyone. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to report here. My name is Xiaoling Liu. I'm a PhD candidate, and I'm pleased to introduce my recent research article at the Institute of Biomedical Sciences at National Sun Yat-sen University, Taiwan. Today, I will present and discuss our finding on the genetic links between psychological stress, autophagy, and the skin health, with a particular focus on psoriasis and anxiety disorder. Okay, would you please help me play the video presentation? Thank you.
Thank you so much for this brief introduction of your presentation. We'll move forward for the video presentation.
Good day, everyone. My name is Xiaoling Liu. I'm now a PhD candidate, and I'm pleased to introduce my recent research article at the Institute of Biomedical Sciences at National Sun Yat-sen University, Taiwan. Today, I will present and discuss our finding on the genetic link between psychological stress, autophagy, and skin health, with a particular focus on psoriasis and anxiety disorders. Our objective is to shed light on the shared biological mechanisms underlying these conditions and to explore potential pathway or biomarkers for improved diagnosis and treatment. And first, I'm going to briefly introduce the background and the significance of our study. Then I will show our research objective and methodology. What follows are our key findings and the implications, and draw a conclusion at the end. First, let's briefly discuss the significance of our study. Psychological stress has been shown to have a profound impact on skin immunity. Stress can trigger the release of various neuropeptides and hormones, such as cortisol, which can moderate immune responses. This stress-induced change can lead to immune dysregulation, making the skin more susceptible to inflammation or other immune-related conditions. For instance, in individuals with psoriasis, stress can exacerbate symptoms and lead to more frequent flare-ups. Understanding the mechanism by which psychological stress affects skin immunity is crucial for developing better therapeutic strategy for stress-related dermatological conditions. Psoriasis is a chronic inflammatory skin condition characterized by persistent and recurring symptoms as photos shown. Patients suffer from skin itching, discomfortable, and changes in body image. Its exact cause remain unclear, but immune dysregulation and emotional disturbances are recognized as significant risk factors. Anxiety disorders, the most common mental health condition worldwide, which severely impact individuals' overall health, have been increasingly linked to immune system activation and altered skin immunity. The interplay between these conditions present a unique opportunity to explore common biological mechanisms, particularly those involving autophagy. Autophagy is a crucial cellular process that maintains homeostasis by degrading and recycling cellular components, such as damaged or aged protein and organelles. It's also involving in the regulation of cellular oxidative stress and inflammatory responses. Understanding its role in psoriasis and anxiety disorders could provide new insight into their comorbidity. The second part is our research objective and the methodology. Our study aims to explore the potential shared biological mechanism underlying psoriasis and anxiety disorders. To achieve this, we utilize data from the GEO database, which provide us with comprehensive information on both conditions. We obtained a list of 3,254 autophagy-related genes, or called ATGS, from public databases, including GeneCAR, HMDB, HADB, and to identify differentially expression gene, or abbreviated DEGS, we intersected DEGS between psoriasis and anxiety disorder samples with the list of ATGS. We then apply 5 machine learning algorithms to screen for hub genes. The 5 machine learning algorithms include lasso regression, SVM, random forest, extreme gradient boosting, and Boruta show at each machine learning algorithm screen out different key genes. After intersecting the result of each algorithm, we screen out 4 key hub genes. And we use the ROC curve to evaluate the diagnostic performance shown at the right side photos, not only in the training data set, but also in validator set. The 4 key genes demonstrate good diagnostic power with AUC value are greater than 0.7, even close to 1. Okay, further, we use these hub genes to identify disease subtypes and conducted GSEA, immune infiltration analysis, and network analysis for deeper insights. To depict T-cell evolution, we use the Surrett and Monaco algorithm and use cell chat to infer signaling pathway between keratinocytes and immune cells. And the third part is our key finding and the implications. Our analysis identify 4 key hub genes related to psoriasis, anxiety disorder, and autophagy. Enrichment analysis confirmed that these genes are indeed involved in the T-cell function, autophagy, and immune regulation, demonstrating good diagnostic efficacy. And through single-cell RNA sequencing, we expanded our understanding of key cellular participants, including inflammatory keratinocytes, T-cell, natural killer cell, and understanding the changes in T-cell subtypes. Also, the interaction dynamics between keratinocyte and these immune cells. One particularly significant finding was the involvement of the CASP7 gene in the T-cell development process and its correlation with gamma delta T cell. This discovery warrants further investigation as CASP7 could serve as a potential biomarker for both conditions. The final part is our conclusion. This finding have significant implications for the diagnosis and the treatment of psoriasis and anxiety disorders. By identifying specific biomarkers, we can improve diagnostic accuracy and develop personalized treatment tailored to individual patients' genetic profiles. Looking ahead, we aim to further investigate the role of the CASP7 gene in immune signaling and regulation. And additionally, we plan to expand our study to include broader database and more advanced machine learning models, which will help us validate and extend our finding. In conclusion, our research provides valuable insight into the relationship between psychological stress, autophagy, and dermatological health. The identification of key hub genes particularly CASP7, underscore the potential for improved diagnosis and personalized treatment strategies. We believe that continued research in this field will lead to a significant advancement in understanding and treating these complex conditions. I thank all of you for your attention and participation today. Together, we are continuing to make significant strides in understand and treating these complex conditions. Thank you. Thank you very much for your attention again.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Please put your question in the chat box and it will be answered by the speaker. Now we'll move forward with the next presentation. Kindly give me a minute. So the next presenter we have is Mohammad Abdul Awal Khan, Department of Law and Director, Institutional Quality Assurance Cell, Bangladesh. The topic of the presentation is Challenges in Implementing Outcome-Based Education in Higher Education Settings in Bangladesh. Now, I would request the viewers of the presenters to kindly go through the abstract of the presenter.
Hi. Am I audible?
Yes, you're absolutely audible.
Okay, thank you. So, greetings everyone. I'm Professor Abdul Awal Khan. I'm serving as a professor of law at Independent University, Bangladesh. And also I am the director in charge of Institutional Quality Assurance Cell at the same university, okay. So my topic is, you can see challenges in implementing outcome-based education, OBE, in higher education settings in Bangladesh. So you know that OBE is a kind of teaching method by which that method concentrates on establishing clear goals for what students should be able to do by the end of their learning, like classroom programs or degree. And OBE focuses on what students should learn, comprehend, or be able to accomplish after their educational experience, instead of just focusing on what material is included or taught. OBE has been practiced in higher education level in Bangladesh since 2022. And we have regulatory bodies, University Grants Commission of Bangladesh. They actually encourage and also they work as a regulatory authority to see that how far OBE and other educational guidelines are complied or not. And we have also to bridging the gap between academia, industry, and professional bodies. OBE is essential to provide skilled graduates. The educational regulatory bodies of the government and academic institutions have been working to align their curricular and assessment practices with clearly defined learning outcomes based on OBE. Implementing OB in Bangladesh, like many other developing countries, has several challenges, including infrastructure, technological resources, and so on. And government provides funding not only to public universities, and private universities, they don't provide any funding. So when they manage their especially from the tuition fee of the students. And there are also lack of professional development opportunities and resources for teachers and to build their intellectual capacity in that area, and other challenges to implement OB smoothly. So further introducing a new educational approach like OBE, many OB may face resistance from various from various stakeholders, including teacher, administrator, parents, and policymaker, due to variety of factors such as fear of unknown, concern about increased workload, and confusion about the effectiveness of OB compared to traditional approaches, and also assessment, evaluation challenges, and so on. Considering all those issues, my presentation will focus on the possible problems that hinder the effective implementation of OB initiatives in higher education in Bangladesh, and also my presentation will address various ways of forward to overcome those challenges. This is actually the brief of my presentation, I mean the abstract. And there are, based on this abstract, if we discuss, or if I want to mention few points, then let me focus on key features of OBE. So OBE basically, it defines the clear learning outcomes. That means at the end of the course, that is student, what would be their basic learning, or what will they learn at the end of this course, they what will be able to, they will apply this learning of their course. And OB also design a specific curriculum, that the curriculum is to align the desired learning based on learning outcomes, and also flexibility of teaching methods. Also, one of the important issues is assessment. That means assessment method are used to measure the extent to which students have achieved learning outcomes. And formative and summative assessment is also implemented in OBE. And student-centered learning, that means the student will be active learning, how far they will be able to engage in active learning process, and what will be their responsibility in case of their classroom responsibility or any other academic and professional responsibility. So there are, as I mentioned in my abstract, that there are few challenges that OB, actually, if you want to implement OB in our curriculum. First, I would like to mention that I can compare the situation about the online learning. For example, our conference is supposed to held offline. It is supposed to held in Singapore, but now it is we are, unfortunately, the organizer, they could not manage the conference in online face to face. They arrange online. So you understand that how many participants, only the presenters may delivering their lecture, but I'm not sure that how many presenters are listening to each other. Even I could not listen the many presenters discussion, because I'm traveling and I could not avoid this kind of my travel plan. But this same scenario, if we see in our online curriculum as well, then when we talk face to face, we get more opportunity to interact with students. But in online teaching, we cannot rely on fully. Some partial teaching or learning method could be used online, but online teaching is no longer effective, I would rather say. It's my personal opinion, because during COVID time, online, we were forced to use online teaching method, but now the situation is normal, so nobody is actually liking this kind of online teaching or learning. And this kind of virtual program or conference it also doesn't bring any fruitful result in, or if it is organized in online platform. So next time, I would request our organizer that even the number of participants are few, they should be stick on their usual plan. And another thing is institutional structure. The many educational settings or institution, they don't have any sufficient physical infrastructure. So that's why it is on a kind of challenges. And also students' active engagement is very important, or participant learners active in engagement. And the role of teachers is not only to deliver lecture, rather many issues they need to consider in their classroom, that beyond classroom, beyond syllabus, they need to bring many practical issues, many ethical issues, or any their core or extracurricular issues they should also bring. Otherwise, active teaching or learning environment could not be created. It would be really boring and frustrating classroom environment. And most importantly, resources is always important. Financial resource, infrastructure, technological resource is very important. And also another thing is curriculum. If we see that subcontinent, South Asian curriculum, Western curriculum, Eastern curriculum, these countries, they have their own curriculum, and based on their curriculum, students, they are learning depth, or they are learning or teaching style is actually different. So designing a modern, up-to-date, and what should I say, that is unique curriculum is important, and so that the university's education standard should be almost remain same. Even the Harvard curriculum and in my university curriculum, if we are able to maintain same situation or same structure, then at least we will be able to improve our educational structure. So another thing I would say, that is quality assurance and continuous improvement. Quality, educational quality, it doesn't have any specific definition or standard, but we can see that, as I mentioned, that Harvard or MIT or world reputed university, they maintain a status, they maintain a quality. So some context, we need to find a standard that this kind of quality we can bring some a university as our ideal, that we must follow their style or something. So in this way, quality could be improved or continuously. Quality, it doesn't mean that it is a fixed thing. Everyday quality could be improved. So based on my very brief discussion, I would say that whatever problem or issues I mentioned, if we are able to address all those problems, then I think that OBB's education or curriculum could be effectively ensured. And most importantly, what should I say, that government and other organizations, those who are actually responsible for continuous improvement of education, they can take the charge and also take responsibility that how they can improve the quality education. So thank you everyone for your patience hearing. So you'll be able to find out my email address in case of any academic engagement or further any collaboration or something. I am happy to do that, and good to see you all in this virtual platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. You can put your question in the chat box and the speaker will be answered your question accordingly. So we'll move forward with the next presentation. Kindly give me a minute. So the next presenter of the day is Chang from Department of Economics, King's College, London, United Kingdom. The topic of the presentation is exploring the intercultural challenges and integration of international academics in UK higher education institutions, a pilot study. Now, I would like to request the presenters to kindly go through the abstract of the presenter.
Oh, hello everyone. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, you're completely audible.
Okay, just please just give me 2 minutes, right? I'm just looking for my presentation slides, yeah?
Yeah, no issues at all.
Okay, everyone. Can you all see the shared PowerPoint?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, please. Yeah, continue. You can
Yes.
share the presentation.
Hasha, can you see the shared presentation slides?
Yes, it is visible. We can see the presentation.
Okay, that's great. Okay, everyone. It's very nice to meet you all virtually. My name is Chen, and I'm a lecturer in economics at King's College London. My topic today is related to the identity of international academics in UK higher education institutions. This research is being conducted in collaboration with my colleague, Dr. Kukuraki, who is a lecturer in cultural competence. Our research focuses on exploring the intercultural challenges and integration of international academics in UK higher education institutions. Well, the internationalization of academia involving faculty and students is a really exciting trend in higher education. This trend is driven by the world's increasing interconnectedness and the growing recognition of the benefits of cross-cultural collaboration in research and education. There are so many great opportunities and some challenges that come with internationalization. On a bright side, universities can attract the top talent worldwide, creating a rich and diverse learning environment. Collaborative research and academic exchange programs can also lead to innovation and new perspectives. On the flip side, challenges, for example, language barriers, cultural differences, and varying academic standards must be addressed. In addition, institutions need to tackle logistic issues related to visa regulations, student support services, and cross-border collaboration. Overall, the internationalization of academia offers immense potential for enriching the educational experience and advancing global knowledge, but it will require careful planning and management to address the associated challenges. Many studies have been conducted on the experiences of international students, but not as many on the experiences of academic staff. It is interesting to note that mobility of academics across borders is a big deal, but it hasn't been researched as much as it should. Previous studies have investigated the challenges experienced by international academics in countries like China, the US, and Australia. However, it is worth noting that these studies had limited sample sizes of international academics. Also, there is a gap in research when it comes to the hurdles that international academics face in UK higher education institutions. So our research aims to comprehensively determine the impact of international academics' work experience in UK higher education institutions on their professional identity. And we seek to examine how their work experience has affected their professional perceptions and responsibilities. Additionally, we aim to thoroughly investigate the challenges encountered during the transition to the new academic environment, including the extent to which adjustments to the host culture were necessary and the potential impact on their academic roles. Our goal is to deeply explore how UK higher education institutions perceive and value the cultural backgrounds of international academics, and to understand how this perception influences the academic culture within these institutions. We also aim to identify specific areas where more significant support for international academics may be needed, particularly in relation to their adaptation to the host culture, and to raise awareness of intercultural competence among the staff of the host institutions. To help us gather data, we've been using a mixed method strategy approach for our research by gathering data in 2 stages in order to get a well-rounded picture. Right now, 9 international academics have filled out our online questionnaire, sharing some details about themselves and their professional experience. On top of that, we've had the pleasure of chatting with 7 participants, either online or in person, and we are planning to have more great conversations. This approach definitely helps us get a deeper understanding of our research topic by bringing a variety of perspectives and experiences. So after discussing with my colleagues, we identified some major things related to their experiences in the UK higher education institutions. Some are related to teaching, while others are not. I'm mindful of time, so I will briefly cover these points and share comments from international academics with you. So there might be some grammatical mistakes, but we want to keep everything original. By the way, the countries in brackets are related to countries of origin. So the first aspect is related to independence and flexibility. Some international academics feel that it is very difficult to change their teaching materials. For example, the lecturer whose countries of origin is Italy said, so in terms of teaching in Switzerland, I got more flexibility. I was more independent and had more control over everything. The type of assessment and content in the UK is more regulated. There are more constraints. While I was in Switzerland, I was able to decide all aspects of teaching. So I was completely in control. And another example, I remember I had to submit outline for a module a year in advance. However, although I could modify some of the content at later stage, the overall experience was very inflexible. And in terms of teaching and learning, right, although the teaching materials might be the same, the way of delivering in the UK can be quite different from those overseas. For example, there isn't many variation in terms of like what one should deliver in terms of the content, but then of course, in terms of the method of delivery, and the UK is quite different. And when it comes to the curriculum design, again, right, each module tends to follow the module specification or module outline. So it is somewhat difficult to change or to upgrade your teaching materials in time. Let's say, for example, I feel that in this case, the tendency is that easy is better than difficult. In other countries, that's not necessarily the case. For example, the number of first class in the Swiss system, for instance, is much smaller than the number of first class here, i.e. in the UK. You really need to make it excellent, truly excellent to get first class. So in the UK, there are 4 different classifications. If you achieve more than 70%, you get a first class. And then between 60 and 70, you get upper second. Between 50 and 60, you get a lower second class. And if you, so between 40 and 50, you only get a third class, okay? And the grading system in the UK is quite different. For example, compared to Germany and Denmark, right? So academics in those 2 countries, they normally follow the linear grading scheme, meaning that the students can get award a mark between 0 and 100 points. But in the UK, right, once you get a numerical mark, once you get a score, and your score will be automatically converted into a degree, into a classification, okay? Which means there is a significant difference between 70 and 69, right? Although there is only 1 mark difference, in the UK, 70 means the first class degree, whereas 69 means the upper second class degree, right? And this could be problematic because when applying for a master degree, right, especially if you want to apply for a master degree at a top university in the UK. And one of the requirements is that you should get a first class degree, right? So, and also in terms of employability, some top employers focus on those students who achieve the first class degree. Okay, the way in which students treat lecturers in the UK is also quite different. For example, there is something very strange about how lecturers are treated by students in the UK compared to the continent, where I studied and everything, and how much emphasis is placed on students here relative to faculty and teaching. And also, given that we have a large number of international students studying at King's College London, of course, we have a lot of international academics. Sometimes it's very hard to communicate. Sometimes it's very hard to communicate with students because of the cultural differences. For example, I'm more cautious about how I speak during lectures. I don't make jokes. I heard horrible stories about someone saying something funny just because of your culture. Other people, however, didn't find it funny at all. And I constrained myself not to make any comments on anything because I'm afraid of being in that situation. In addition to those teaching-related differences, and here one of the particular features in the UK education system is the personal tutoring, and each student has his or her allocated personal tutor. Where they can, to whom they can talk, should they have any questions or difficulties, right? It's definitely good for the students to have someone they can talk to and someone in the academic staff as a reference. So this is the comment, right, from one of my international colleagues. And in terms of equality, right, most universities in the UK nowadays tend to focus on diversity and inclusiveness, which is good. For example, you grow up in a country that is a bit patriarchal, a country where women have a difficult time in the work environment. You learn not to be assertive and competitive as a woman. And being a woman in a professional environment is extremely difficult, and maybe it's easier here. People are at least more respectable here. Okay. And the way of communicating in general in the UK is quite subtle. And sometimes people can be, people are very respectful and they can be diplomatic, right? So in an academic setting, I say, for example, there is a certain way you talk about things here, in that you are expected to be extremely polite. And if you don't agree with something, you are not supposed to do it in a way that would be too direct. That is a very specific feature of the UK system. So you need to learn the code. And another interesting comment is, it's better to use the passive voice in a sentence when talking about someone who may not be doing what they are supposed to do and may cause some problems for you. It's not polite to mention them by name directly. And one more example, I try not to see he or she, but they, as I could have in German or Danish. But I like that. It's not always gender specific. Another aspect I want to touch on is related to the adaptation to a new academic setting, right? In general, the international academics feel that when they started their careers in the UK, there was not enough time for them to adjust, or there was a lack of support. And for example, when you are a foreigner coming into the UK system from another country, and not having grown up in the UK system, you may find it difficult to find your way around the system. And also here, in my opinion, there is an underestimation of how much help foreigners will need to adjust to the system and how they need to learn how to navigate it. And also there is a misconception, right, about, there's a misconception that people in the UK tend to assume, that international academics are aware of the British education system, but actually this is not the case. With regard to timing issues, right, so here we tend to have very tight deadlines, but if you only start your career right in the UK, it could be problematic for you. For example, between September 20th and October 10th, I had numerous trainings with strict deadlines, which felt overwhelming. On top of that, I had to redesign a module and adjust to living in a new country. It was simply too much to handle. Right. And another comment, the most shocking part was that I had to write an exam before I started teaching my students. Moving to a new country, not knowing anything about student level and having to write an exam at the beginning of the semester was a challenging experience for me. Okay. And as I mentioned before, right, there was a lack of support when they felt that when they started their careers in the UK. And another interesting aspect is related to the appreciation of overseas experiences. And I guess this is a common issue across different universities. As far as I'm concerned, most international academics feel that their overseas experiences haven't been fully appreciated by their universities. For example, I think it would be helpful to be able to suggest things to the education team instead of being told what to do. As foreigners with experience abroad, I think we have a lot to offer. We are not better, but we certainly have seen a variety of things. Those are some experiences that could be useful to the school. Okay. All right. So our research is still work in progress. Regarding the implications and the future research plans, we would like to expand the survey on intercultural competence to universities in the UK and around the world. This way, we can get a better understanding of how different institutions handle intercultural challenges. Well, additionally, there is a plan to create opportunities for professional development for both local and international staff. Well, the aim is to help everyone build the skills and awareness needed to navigate the diverse cultural interactions more effectively. Also, we are looking into developing teaching strategies that are sensitive to different cultures, which means thinking about how we design our courses, assessing students and giving feedback to so everyone feels included and supported in their learning journey, no matter where they are from. And okay, I think that's it. And thank you so much for your attention. But please let me know if you have any questions. Any questions or comments?
We have heard your presentation, and it was a really amazing presentation, first of all. So I would like to all the viewers, if you have any question, then you can ask your question directly to the presenter, or you can post your question in the chat box. Okay, I think there are no questions, Chang. So we can end your presentation here if that's convenient to you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. Now we'll move forward with the next presenter of the day. Kindly give me a minute. The next presenter for today we have Sukru Asitas, Department of Statistics, Faculty of Science, XC Şehir Technical University, XC Şehir, Turkey. The topic of the presentation is estimation the energy consumption of built-in ovens using linear regression analysis. So I would like to request all the viewers of the presentation to kindly go through the abstract of the presenter.
Thank you, Harsha, for introducing me. Can I share the screen?
Yeah, definitely. Kindly give me a minute. Yes, you can share your screen with us.
Okay, just a second. Just a second. Okay. I think it's okay.
Yes, it is visible to us.
Okay, I'm Şükrü Acıtaş from Eskişehir, Turkey. I'm going to talk about estimation, the energy consumption of built-in ovens using linear regression analysis. Actually, this study is a part of our project, which is supported by Turkish Scientific and Technical Council of Turkey, TÜBİTAK in short. And this project gets together our university, Eskişehir Technical University, and an industry part here, Higher Europe. We are working together, and the team is both including members from university and Higher Europe. I'm the presenting person right now. Energy demanding is rising day by day, and this allows or this leads to researchers to produce or to develop new household applicants, in particular having high energy efficiency but low energy consumption. Keeping in this mind, in this study, we focus on energy estimation of the built-in ovens, and for this purpose, we use linear regression model with model selection procedures. And as I said, this study is a part of a TÜBİTAK project, and the data is obtained from the experiment conducted with collaboration with RD Research Development Center of Higher Europe and our university. So first, I should talk about energy consumption of the ovens.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Şükrü. So we only see the first page, the title page.
So
So
just a second. Let me share one more again for you.
thank you.
Now, is it okay?
No, so we
Just
can.
a second, just a second. Stop share. And oops. Is there a problem?
So probably you need to exit from the full screen and then
Yes.
share
Okay.
the full screen again.
Now I think you see the
Yes.
screen now, introduction part.
Yes.
Yes. Let me use that part because when I use presentation, I think it's problem. Now you are not able to see the presentation, right? I'm
No,
moving from the
we
slides.
only see the Google
Okay.
Documents
Now
page.
it's okay. Now you see the page slides. I'm passing through the slides here. Let me use this case. Okay. Okay. As I said, our main focus is on built-in ovens and their energy consumption. So I should talk about energy consumption of ovens. Energy consumptions of the ovens are obtained by brick testing. Okay. And in brick testing, I'm going to explain it in detail briefly later on. But here the basic concept is given. Energy level of the oven has been determined by calculating the central temperature of the oven, the time required to reach the desired temperature, the working function of the oven, and the decreasing weight of a hyper brick used in the experiments conducted at room temperature. But as we will see later on, brick testing is time consuming, costly, and therefore here we propose to use machine learning and statistical methods. And in this study, we focus on linear regression analyzes with model selection procedures. As far as we know, there isn't so much study using statistical analysis methods or machine learning algorithms in the context of estimating energy efficiency classes or energy efficiency conceptions of the ovens. Here, some couple of studies are given, but these are mostly interested in energy efficiency of buildings. Okay, not ovens, but somehow related what we did, but not exactly with the ovens. Okay, brick test is important for us because energy consumption of the ovens are determined by brick test, and this is done by that standards. Okay, so there is a regulation for brick test, and at the end of the brick test, energy consumption is determined either numerically or as a classification code. Here you see a brick inside of the oven, and here we gave a flow chart of the brick test, and this is the initial step. Okay, here pre-processing stage, then here we have a preheating process, then cooling, then now brick is prepared to be used inside of the oven, and here brick is cooked. Why we use brick here? Brick test is actually mimicking the meat cooking process. Okay, brick is here used instead of meat actually. You know, brick is somehow easy to use rather than meat. Then all available data is obtained from sensors, and they are saved in a separate file. Then we use them. Brick test is important for us, as I said, because energy efficiency or energy consumption of the ovens are obtained from this test, and also the data for this study is obtained from brick testing. And naturally, there are many features, attributes which affects the energy consumption of the ovens, and you know, this is a project work, and with the project team from industry and university, we carefully investigate the factors affecting the energy consumption of oven, and here determine 22 features or predictors or attributes. Measured volume of the oven, this is a numerical variable. Test function is a categorical variable including 3 levels, and total work cycle power numerical, controller function time, and their types are given in the second column. The remaining ones are here. These features are determined which are effective on the energy consumption of ovens. So the research question is, are all of these variables are important while estimating the energy consumption of the oven, or some of them important? Okay, for this purpose, we use well-known multiple linear regression model. Model is given here. Y is the energy consumption of the oven, which is numerical value obtained from brick test, and X denotes here features or predictors. A list of features or predictors are given previously here. You know, and epsilon is a random error term as usual. Now what we are doing, we employ stepwise regression here, and we will use Akaike information criterion to select the best model, and in stepwise regression we have 3 choices: forward selection, backward elimination, or both direction. Forward selection begins with the smallest model and going on adding one by one predictors. Backward makes the reverse, beginning the full model and eliminating one by one. and both directions employing forward and backward. Okay, but first we should make some feature engineering here, because we have categorical variables, and to use these categorical variables in linear regression model, we should convert them to dummy variables. Okay, something similar to one-hot encoding. Okay, but we here use dummy variables. Then after doing this work, we have in total 523 observations, and we have 22 features. Okay. We use our software for all analyzes. Tidy models, Ranger, Carrot, and VIP libraries are used here. And to prevent overfitting, we employ tenfold cross-validation. Train function from Carrot library is used with the argument method accuse. Sorry, this is not necessary. LM step AIC, which is used for model selection. As I explained previously, here we use both directions. Okay, the default is used here, and we will choose the best model, which has the lowest AIC value. Now you see the performance of the full model. RMCE, mean absolute error, and R squared are given. After employing here LM step AIC, the selected features are given here. At the beginning, we have 22 features, but after model selection procedure, this number is reduced. As you can see, the relevant features are included at the end. This is the final model. Results for the final model, I mean the model including these predictors are given. Residual standard error is here. R square is here. It's somehow okay for us. We can use this model to estimate energy consumption of the model. And also variable of importance are plotted here. The most important variable is test function with static fun, then controller, then test function with multifunction level, and goes on like that. The less importance is for chimney, as you can see. Let me sum up what we did. The idea underlying this study is actually to propose an time and cost efficient alternative of brick testing, because it's difficult and it is time consuming. Just the data point is obtained at the end of 6 hours, okay, while we use brick testing. So by using linear regression model selection procedures, we aim to reduce these time and cost restrictions. And also here I write in red, if a new oven is designed according to the standards, we should employ brick test. But before begin production, we can use model selection procedures in linear regression model to estimate the energy efficiency of the oven, and this will allow to reduce time and financial cost for us. Here some references we used during the study, and as I said, this study is supported by TÜBİTAK, Scientific and Research Council of Turkey, under the grant number of 5220103. Okay, thank you for listening me. If any questions, I can answer.
Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. It was an amazing session. I would like to request all the viewers of the presentation, if you have any question, you can directly ask to the speaker, or you can type your question in the chat box.
Thank you.
Uh, I guess there are no specific questions, so we can move forward with the next presentation. Kindly give me a minute. The next presenter we have Emery Seaman, Faculty of Engineering and Department of Statistics, Eskişehir Technical University, Eskişehir, Turkey. The topic of the presentation is Energy Efficiency Labor Classification Problem for Built-in Ovens Logistic Regression Approach.
Hello, Harsha. Thank you for the
Thank you so much.
introduction. So may I share my screen?
Yes, definitely. Kindly give me a minute.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, you can start your presentation.
So can you see the full screen?
Yes, it is visible to us.
Okay, so if there is any problem, please say me. So
Yes.
hello everyone, I'm Emre Çimen, and this is a joint work with my colleagues Şükrü Acıtaş, İlhan Usta, Hanefi Gezer, Zahir Hacızade, Ayven Cengiz, and Can Uğureli. The title is Energy Efficiency Label Classification Problem for Built-in Ovens, and it's a logistic regression approach. I'm a associate professor of industrial engineering in Eskişehir Technical University, and as Şükrü mentioned, this project is a joint work with our industry partner, Higher Europe, and this project is supported by our scientific foundation, TÜBİTAK. So it's necessary to determine the energy efficiency level of a built-in oven before it's placed on the market. And these labels are assigned following a time-consuming and very costly procedure known as the brick test. So to the best of our knowledge, there are no articles, papers, or the patents that use the statistical analysis methods and or machine learning algorithms to estimate the energy efficiency classes in household ovens. And recently, research focused on enhancing the brick test, improving energy consumption efficiency in domestic ovens, and modeling heat transfer within the brick or oven are Pensek et al., Capablo, Altun, Lucci, and Fasciano et al. In different years. So the brick test performed according a European Union standards is designed to assess an oven's efficiency, performance, and its energy consumption. This test simulates the meat cooking process to accurately measures the oven's energy usage. So before starting the test, the temperature of the brick must be 3 to 7 degrees of Celsius. If the brick temperature is above 7 degrees or 3 degrees, the test cannot proceed. During the test, the room temperature must be around 23 Celsius. If the room temperature falls outside this range, below 21 or higher than 25, it is adjusted to the desired level using cooling or heating devices. The time from removing the brick from the fridge to starting the test should not exceed 3 minutes. At the beginning of the test, the brick's temperature is recorded and 55 degrees is added to it as per standard. This sum indicates the temperature at which the brick will be taken out of the oven. Before conducting the energy test, a preheating test is performed to ensure the oven operates at the specified temperature. Once temperature is set, the oven door is opened and it's cooled with a fan for 1 hour. After cooling, the weight of a wet brick, which simulates raw meat, is measured and recorded. The brick is then positioned on the grill, aligning the center with the oven's center point. Two thermometers are inserted into the brick's holes to measure the temperatures. One thermometer is connected to the thermostat, and another one is center of the oven, which means grill. And the third is placed at oven level, 1 meter away from the oven's edge, to measure the ambient temperature. The oven is then operated in a required function for the energy test, with temperature data being monitored on a computer. Once the desired temperature is reached, the brick is removed and the oven continues to run without brick for an additional hour to complete the test. So at the right-hand side, you see the energy efficiency index, and that there are some thresholds for the different energy efficiency classes. The most efficient one is A triple plus, and then the least one is D. So a product to be sellable in the industry should be A triple plus, A double plus, or A plus, etc. But actually, in the real market, we don't see any D's or C's nowadays. So when conducting the brick test, there are different features related to the oven are considered, and these selected features offer critical information for accurately estimating energy consumption and the corresponding energy efficiency index. To effectively estimate the energy consumption, the influencing factors, also known as features, were identified through the collaborative meetings and held by the project team. And in our case, there are two labels, A and A plus, and our independent variables are the volume, test function. The volume is numerical feature, and test function is categorical at 3 levels. Total working cycle power is numeric. Controller type, there are 3 levels. Function type, there are 4 levels. Buffer type, and also continuous features such as insulation intensity, insulation width, and thermal conductivity. And the others one as cooling fan type, cooling fan rotation per minute, cavity fan rotation per minute, number of glasses at the front door, and cavity type, ventilation channel, and chimney. So our methodology based on logistic regression, and our logistic regression model is like this, and we calculate the label probabilities. So determination of the energy efficiency label can be considered as a classification problem, since the labels and features can be taken as response variable and the predictors respectively. For this purpose, we used logistic regression, and it's a statistical method used for binary classification, where dependent variable or outcome is categorical like A and A plus in this case, and we encode them like 0 and 1. And it's a type of regression analysis that models the probability of the classes. So we had 523 number of observations, and to get each observation, as Shukr mentioned, it takes hours to get one sample, and we had 22 number of features. And we used our software and the tidy models, our part, and VIP or VIP packages, and we split our data as 80% and 20% as the training and the test set. And GLM engine with logistic regression is used, and we evaluate the accuracy, sensitivity, ROC, and the area under curve as the performance metrics. And at the end of the tests, we had this confusion matrix. As you see, this part, the A to A part is 34, and A plus to A plus part is 37. So these are the correct labeled samples. And if you see it to the left, the prediction A and the truth is A plus is less, but we have 28 errors in here when the truth is A and our prediction is A plus. So if we summarize our performance matrices, our overall accuracy is around 0.67, and our precision is around 75, and recall is around 0.54 or 55. So if you see our ROC curve and our area under curve is 0.7. And as a conclusion, according to the European Union standards, the energy usage of a built-in oven must be assessed using a brick test, which requires a repeated energy consumption measurements due to the diverse features of each oven. And this method, however, is both time-intensive and expensive. Determining the energy efficiency label can be viewed as a classification problem, and we employed logistic regression, this study, to predict the energy efficiency label. Results show that logistic regression can be used as an alternative to the brick test to estimate the energy efficiency label of oven, especially in the research and development part. So we don't need to use brick test every time we in the research and development phase of the ovens. So if you need to reach out us, so our email is in here. And I would like to thank all my teammates and our industry partner and all organizing committee of this conference and the participants in this session. So thank you. And we would like to thank Trivitech as well for the grant of the project. And here are references used in the slide. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this amazing presentation. It was a great session. We have learned a lot of things from your session, and we are glad that you presented your presentation with all of us. So I would like to request all the presenters, if you have any questions or any comments, then you can directly convey your comments to the speaker, or you can type in the chat session.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. Now we'll move forward with the conference. Kindly give me a minute. So last but not the least, we are introducing the listener of this conference, Dr. David Warhurst, Australian College of Rural and Remote Medicine, Adelaide Branch, South Africa, 30 Walden ST Tanunda, South Africa 5352. Now I would like to request all the presenters of the conference kindly switch on the cameras and microphones so that I can take the feedback regarding the conference. Am I audible to everyone? It's a request to kindly switch on your cameras and microphones so that I can take your feedback regarding how you feel about the conference, what is the point of view. Hi, Jessica. Am I audible to you?
Sorry, what?
Am I audible to you?
Yes.
Okay, so can you please tell me what are the point of views regarding the conference, how you feel, how you like your perspective about the conference, your feedback about the conference. Can you please tell us?
This conference so amazing. I have new experience through this conference. So many perspective I can learn from many presentation. Thank you for all presentation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your words. Really means a lot to us. Shukru and Emily, you just presented in front of us. Can you please tell me how was the feedback for the conference? DN, okay. Thank you so much for your words, Shukru. Really means a lot to us. Deanne, are you here in the conference? Okay, no problem, Shukru. We completely understand your point. Thank you so much for your words and for your time. Okay, so I guess we can move to the conclusion of the conference. Okay. So, with this note, thank you so much. With great pleasure and enthusiasm, I would like to conclude the conference was a great success. Many people have contributed in different ways to turn this event into a smoothly running conference with very interesting presentations. This conference has resulted in good discussions and networking. I owe my gratitude to all the presenters and patient listeners, to the coordinators, and the whole staff of Eurasia Research for their constant support. I would also like to thank all the universities and institutes who have sponsored our participants and people who have directly or indirectly contributed in the smooth conduct of this conference. And now we have a list of our upcoming conferences. Eurasia Research conduct conferences around the world. We have the upcoming conferences as July 2024, Bangkok and Bali, Barcelona in August 2024, and London and Rome International Conference in September 2024. It's a request to refer these upcoming conferences to your friends and colleagues. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.